चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवागस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो वरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ हिरण्यवर्णां हरिणीं सुवर्णरजतस्रजां चन्द्रां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो महावह तां महावह जातवेदो लक्ष्मीमनपगामिनीं यस्यां हिरण्यं विन्देयं कामश्वं पुरुषादहम् अश्वपूर्वां रथमध्यां हस्तिनादप्रबोधिनीं श्रियं देवीमुपह्वये श्रीर्मादेवीर्जुषतां कांसोऽस्मितां हिरण्यप्राकारामात्रां ज्वलन्तीं तृप्तां तर्पयन्तीं पद्मे स्थितां पद्मवर्णां तामिहोपह्वये श्रियं चन्द्रां प्रभासां यशसा ज्वलन्तीं श्रियं ते लोके देवजुष्टामुदारां तां पद्मिनीमीं शरणमहं प्रपद्ये लक्ष्मीर्मे नश्यतां त्वां वृणे आदित्यवर्णे तपसोऽधिजातो वनस्पतिस्तव वृक्षोत बिल्वः तस्य फलानि तपसा नुदन्तु मायान्तरायाश्च बाह्या अलक्ष्मीः उपैतु मां देवसखकीर्तिश्च मणिना सह प्रादुर्भूतोऽस्मि राष्ट्रेऽस्मिन् कीर्तिमृद्धिं ददातु मे क्षुत्पिपासामलां ज्येष्ठां लक्ष्मीं नाशयाम्यहम् अभूतिमसमृद्धिं च सर्वां निर्नुद मे गृहात् गन्धद्वारां दुरादर्शां नित्यपुष्टां करीषिणीम् ईश्वरीं सर्वभूतानां तामिहोपह्वये श्रियं मनसः काममाकूतिं वाचः सत्यमशीमहि पशूनां रूपमन्नस्य मयि श्रीशयतां यशः कर्दमेन प्रजा भूता मयि सम्भव कर्दमा श्रियं वासय मे कुले मातरं पद्ममालिनीम् आपसृजन्तु स्निग्धानि चिक्लीतवसमे गृहे निजदेवीं मातरं श्रियं वासय मे कुले आर्द्रां पुष्करणीं पुष्टिं पिङ्गळां हेममालिनीं सूर्यां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो महावह आर्द्रां यकरणीं यष्टिं पिङ्गळां हेममालिनीं चन्द्रां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो महावह तां आवह जातवेदो लक्ष्मीमनपगामिनीं यस्यां हिरण्यं प्रभूतं गावो दास्योष्मान् विन्देयं पुरुषानहम् महादेव्यै च विद्महे विष्णुपत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मीः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ महादेव्यै च विद्महे विष्णुपत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मीः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
মন রে গাবো রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম প্রেম ভরে মন রে গাবো রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম অন্তরে যতনে রাখো মন রে গাহো নাম, অন্তরে যতনে রাখো মন রে গাহো নাম, দীন কাঙালের ধন রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম। প্রেম ভরে মন রে গাবো রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম। একই বৃন্তে ফুটিল রে রাধা কৃষ্ণ শ্যাম, একই বৃন্তে ফুটিল রে রাধা কৃষ্ণ শ্যাম, শিব কালী ব্রহ্মা বিষ্ণু শ্যাম সীতারাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম। প্রেম ভরে মন রে গাবো রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম। নাম ব্রহ্ম একই জেনে মন রে গাবো নাম, নাম ব্রহ্ম একই জেনে মন রে গাবো নাম। জনম মরণ সাথী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম। প্রেম ভরে মন রে গাবো রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, শ্রী রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম। আমি জপি রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, গুরু ভজি রে, গুরু ভজি রে। আমি জপি রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, গুরু ভজি রে, গুরু ভজি রে। চরণ তার হৃদে রাখি বিপদ মাঝারে, গুরু ভজি রে। আমি জপি রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, গুরু ভজি রে, গুরু ভজি রে। সুখ দুঃখ যদি আসে লোভ মোহ পাশে বাঁধে, সুখ দুঃখ যদি আসে লোভ মোহ পাশে বাঁধে, ডরি আমি নাহি ওরে, ডরি আমি নাহি ওরে। ভজি গুরু রে, গুরু ভজি রে, গুরু ভজি রে। আমি জপি রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, গুরু ভজি রে। আসক্তি থাক গুরুর নামে, বিরক্তি থাকে সংসারে। আসক্তি থাক গুরুর নামে, বিরক্তি থাকে সংসারে, আনবো বেঁধে মনটারে গো, আনবো বেঁধে মনটারে গো গুরু চরণে, গুরু ভজিরে, গুরু ভজিরে। আমি জপি রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম, গুরু ভজিরে, গুরু ভজিরে, গুরু ভজিরে, গুরু ভজিরে। इस जीवन में तुम रहो माँ, मैं नहीं माँ, मैं नहीं। इस जीवन में तुम रहो माँ, मैं नहीं माँ, मैं नहीं। बात जितने तुम कहो माँ, मैं नहीं माँ, मैं नहीं। इस जीवन में तुम रहो माँ, जितने कर्म है जगत में, जितने धर्म है जीवन में, जितने कर्म है जगत में, जितने धर्म है जीवन में, रूप अनेक है एक ही के माँ, और तो कुछ है नहीं। इस जीवन में तुम रहो माँ, तुम हो सागर अपने में, अप तरंग रंग विशाल, तुम हो सागर अपने में, अप तरंग रंग विशाल। मैं बनो माँ और मेरापन कहाँ से आए जंजाल। ये जो है माँ संगीत मेरा, ये भी है माँ खिल ही तेरा। ये जो है माँ संगीत मेरा, ये भी है माँ खिल ही तेरा। सत्पलब्धि दिया करो माँ, आज भय का मांगे ही। इस जीवन में तुम रहो माँ, मैं नहीं माँ, मैं नहीं। बात जितने तुम कहो माँ, मैं नहीं माँ, मैं नहीं। इस जीवन में तुम रहो माँ। अनंत रूपिणी अनंत गुणवती अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां। अनंत रूपिणी अनंत गुणवती अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां शिव मोहिनी विश्वविलासिनी शिव मोहिनी विश्वविलासिनी रामो कृष्ण जय नायिनी मां अनंत रूपिणी अनंत गुणवती अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां जगत जननी त्रिलोकपालिनी विश्वसुभासिनी शुभदे मां जगत जननी त्रिलोकपालिनी विश्वसुभासिनी शुभदे मां दुर्गति नाशिनी सम्मति दायिनी दुर्गति नाशिनी सम्मति दायिनी भोगो मोक्षो सुख कारिणी मां अनंत रूपिणी अनंत गुणवती अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां परमे पार्वती सुंदरी भगवती दुर्गे भावती तम्बे मां परमे पार्वती सुंदरी भगवती दुर्गे भावती तम्बे मां प्रसीद माता नागेन्द्र नंदिनी प्रसीद माता नागेन्द्र नंदिनी चिरसुखदायिनी जय दे मां अनंत रूपिणी अनंत गुणवती अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां अनंत नामनी गिरिजे मां. This next song Swamiji sang in Baranagar Math to his disciple brothers. So I'm just taking an attempt. पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला प्याला प्रेम हरे रस का रे पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला पाप पुण्य दो भुगत न आवे पाप पुण्य दो भुगत न आवे कौन तेरा है तो किसका रे जो दम जीवे हरि का गुण गावे जो दम जीवे हरि का गुण गावे धन जो बन सपन निसिकारे पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला। बाल अवस्था खेल गवाई, बाल अवस्था खेल गवाई, तरुण भैया रे बस कारे, वृद्ध भयो कफ मायो न घेरा, वृद्ध भयो कफ मायो न घेरा, घाट पर जाए यमकारे, पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला। नाभ कमल में है कस्तूरी, कैसे भरम में ते पशुकारे, बिन सतगुरु नर ऐसा ही ढूंढे, बिन सतगुरु नर ऐसा ही ढूंढे, जैसा मृग फेरे बनकारे, पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला, प्याला प्रेम हरि रसकारे, पाप पुण्य दो भुगत न आवे, कौन तेरा है तो किसका रे, जो दाम जीवे हरि का गुण गावे, जो दम जीवे हरि का गुण गावे, धन जो बन सपना निसिखारे, पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला, पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला, पीले रे अवधूत हो मत वाला। This is the last one. Everyone can join.
song. Next is Mrs.
Ram Krishna Jaya, Ram Krishna Jaya, Param Guru Jaya Jaya Bhagavan. Ram Krishna Jaya, Ram Krishna Jaya, Param Guru Jaya Jaya Bhagavan. Sharada Ma Jaya, Sharada Ma Jaya, Parama Mata Jaya Jaya Ma. Sharada Ma Jaya, Sharada Ma Jaya, Parama Mata Jaya Jaya Ma. Swami Ji Jaya Shiva, Swami Ji Jaya Shiva, Vivekananda Jaya Shiva Jaya Swamiji Jaya Shiva Swamiji Jaya Shiva Vivekananda Jaya Shiva Jaya Rama Krishna Jaya Rama Krishna Jaya Parama Guru Jaya Jaya Bhagavan Rama Krishna Jaya Rama Krishna Jaya Parama Guru Jaya Jaya Bhagavan Sharada Ma Jaya Sharada Ma Jaya Parama Mata Jaya Jaya Ma Sharada Ma Jaya Sharada Ma Jaya Parama Mata Jaya Jaya Ma Swamiji Jaya Shiva Swamiji Jaya Shiva Vivekananda Jaya Shiva Jaya Swamiji Jaya Shiva Swamiji Jaya Shiva Vivekananda Jaya Shiva Jaya Rama Krishna Jaya Rama Krishna Jaya Parama Guru Jaya Jaya Bhagavan Rama Krishna Jaya Rama Krishna Jaya Parama Guru Jaya Jaya Bhagavan.
Next, we hear the discourse by Swami Atmajnananandaji Maharaj, our spiritual guide all the times here. So I would like to request Swami to start his discourse. Thank you.
best. এবার ঠিক আছে perfect sister.
Good morning, everyone. We began the program last night with question and answer, but most of the questions seem to be about meditation. And we thought that today we would devote this morning and afternoon with 2 sessions to spiritual practice, but basically meditation. Many good questions were raised last night, and I think we'll try to expand on that. I'll speak for some time. I hope there'll be some time for question and answer afterwards. Is my talk this morning, it's kind of a summary of a series of 5 talks that I gave recently in Washington, D.C. It was called Practical Hints on Meditation. And some of it is a little theoretical, but at the end, I hope practical also. So I tried to focus on a few different things. Last night, we talked about the main difficulties in meditation. One is a tamasic thing. We fall asleep. The other is rajasic thing, is the mind is wandering too much. And in general, meditation doesn't bring the joy that we hope that it will bring to us. And this idea that meditation will eventually make the mind perfectly still and quiet, we find very quickly that it doesn't happen. And those of us who have been practicing meditation for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, may discover that our power to concentrate is not much better and maybe worse than it was when we were younger. Because with age, it's not only the body, but the mind also loses a little bit of its sharpness. So there are tricks that we have, not really tricks, of course, but different techniques, different ways of deepening our meditation. And I tried to emphasize last night that meditation has different fruits, different things we get out of meditation. This Raja Yoga idea that meditation will be able to quiet the mind to the point where it's perfectly still. Now, for most of us, we can't get 5 seconds like that. If we think that we'll do it long enough to get nirvikalpa samadhi, and if we don't get that, then we've wasted our time, then we don't understand this process of meditation. Because as we practice meditation, it's combining all of the different yogas. There's the meditative aspect, of course, but the devotional aspect is very important. And the jnana yoga, the insight that we get into the nature of the self, this is extremely important. And of course, how it affects the whole rest of our lifetime with our karma yoga, how they interact. So I wanted to start with one idea that I have that to me is very important, is that if we understand what we're doing in meditation, if we understand the process of meditation, we'll get some insight into the nature of the mind and the self, and really this will become a very key thing for us. One of the problems I feel with meditation is that we look at it sometimes as something strictly mechanical, strictly a question of the mind and maybe imagination and power of projection and repetition, divorced somehow from the real nature of the self, the real nature of God dwelling within, what is really happening when we're meditating. To me, this is an important part of meditation. We can even meditate on what's happening in meditation. Try to analyze who is meditating on whom. Different types of ideas will come up. So there's certain things that we do in life that we don't care about to know all of the intricacies of it. Suppose we're teaching someone to drive a car. It's enough if they know how to put the key in. Nowadays, press a button and step on the gas and steer and all of that. It's not necessary to know exactly what's happening. The ignition is lighting something, engine is going, it's turning pistons and wheels are turning and axles and everything. We could be perfectly good drivers without knowing any of that. In meditation, I think it's the exact opposite. If we understand the process, what's taking place, how it's working, that it gives us some deep insight into the nature of the self. It gives us some conviction that this process of meditation, it's not simply a mental exercise. We're really getting in touch. This little bird of the soul is flying in the infinite space of consciousness. We'll get some feeling like that, which will give a tremendous amount of meaning to this act of meditation. So I wanted to start with this particular idea that if we have some model in mind, some understanding of what's taking place, what is the relationship between the consciousness and mind, the individual and the supreme, then we can really feel this practice of meditation is a period where we're swimming in this ocean of consciousness. We can feel something, that something real is taking place, that it's not imagination, that the name we're repeating, the image we're projecting, all of this is this play of consciousness. So I wanted to start out with a few different models that we have that are very helpful. The first thing I want to say is when we talk about the mind, that we have different interpretations of it, that it belongs to nature. It's a part of Prakriti, it's composed of subtle elements, that with the chitta, we know all of these things. There are other ways of looking at it, and if we really analyze very deeply, we can come to the conclusion that we have no idea what the mind is, that we never come into contact with the mind, that just like, and Swamiji gives this example, just as matter, we only come in contact with the external, with the superficial side, the external side of things, that we never see the thing in itself. With the mind, we come into contact with thoughts, with feelings, with emotions, memory, everything, all of these things that we assume are coming out of the mind, but we never come into contact with this thing that we call mind. So Swamiji says, underlying all this external phenomenon is something we call X. Underlying this internal phenomenon, something we call Y. Both of them are Brahman. So it's a very nice way of understanding that we don't know the ground of things. We only see the appearance of things. This is why we have so many theories about, is this world a projection? Is we really seeing things in a creation? Because everything we only know through the mind. So it allows for all different types of interpretation. Now, the Sankhya idea is that the mind is something separate and yet can reflect consciousness. We have different images. Swamiji talks about this idea that the mind is like a lake, and the water of this lake, it can be muddy and it can be disturbed on the surface. If we understand that all of the passions and desires and all of these things, that the impurities of the heart, that this muddies the water, and the busyness of the mind, this disturbs the surface of the water. That means that the image of the self, or we can say the sun reflected in the water, will also be disturbed. And we won't understand that this disturbed image is really reflection of the infinite absolute reality. So this is one model that we have. We can say a Sankhya model, dualistic model, because we have to have the body and the mind. That'll be the container in the water, and the sun will be reflected in it. There's another way of looking at this, which I'll call the Vedantic model. Now, one thing we have to understand is that Vedanta has a very close relationship with Sankhya. And for most things, it will accept Sankhya. This is why this Sankhya idea that the mind is an instrument, it has to be purified, that it'll reflect the image of the divine if we can purify it. This is fully accepted as a legitimate model by Vedanta, even though it has this apparent duality to it. The other model, I'll say, is a more philosophically Vedantic model, because it doesn't make this distinction between nature on the one hand, Purusha and Prakriti. If we think that this mind is just the surface of consciousness, like a wave on the surface of the ocean, then we can understand how Sri Ramakrishna can say this pure mind is one with the pure intellect, is one with the pure self. Otherwise, how do we understand if the mind is an instrument? How will that ever become one with the pure self? Now, they look contradictory philosophically, but they're models. This is more important, that we choose one that resonates with us. And I like all of them. There are all different types of models that we have that become very helpful to us, at least for me, in spiritual life. Now, one thing that Swamiji emphasizes, Swami Vivekananda, he talks about this symbolic way of understanding consciousness as infinite space, and symbolic way of understanding the way the mind functions as objects in space. So he says we have this idea, Chid Akasha and Chit Akasha. Akasha is infinite space. Chid Akasha will be pure consciousness, and Chit Akasha will be all of the thoughts and feelings, emotions, and everything that we have. And they dwell within space. See, Akasha is a curious type of element. It's not an element like the other four elements. It's that in which all of the other elements exist. It's just space. So if we want to say Akasha and Vayu, the space, air and space, they're coextensive. They don't have their different areas. It's not like if you have water here, then you have earth there. You can't have them both in the same place. But we can't have anything without space. Everything is in pure empty space. So every thought that we have, is just suspended in this infinite absolute space of pure consciousness. And if we can experience that gap between two thoughts, then we're right in there in the middle of this pure infinite consciousness. If the mind can go deep into outer space or deep into inner space, the air becomes rare. There's a great distance between the different molecules. We can find ourselves merged in that infinite absolute. And even when we have a thought, we can feel that, yes, even this is being upheld by this pure absolute consciousness. Now, what does this do for meditation? It means that even when the mind is wandering, we can still feel this is the play of the infinite, the play of the mind, this bird flying in this infinite absolute ocean or outer space of consciousness or inner space of consciousness. So to me, these are all helpful ways of feeling that when we sit for meditation, we're entering into this realm of the absolute, this play of the finite and the infinite, the finite mind and this infinite absolute reality. So this is one way Swamiji likes this idea, that this Chidakasha, infinite absolute consciousness, and this is the play of the mind, Chitakasha, that it dwells there. So we go deep within as if we're going into outer space. And we're going so far into outer space that air is perfectly rare, no molecules or anything. And then we find that that pure mind is one with the pure self. It's a very nice way of looking at it. Swami Sarvadevanandaji, he was very fond of saying that God can be found in that space between two thoughts. Mm-hmm. See, we normally think of everything just in terms of mind, but that space between two thoughts, see, the space between two objects in outer space is infinite. The space between two objects in outer space is infinite. It appears to be finite because the objects are there. If those objects are removed, then it's infinite. So space is limitless. Empirical space, outer space, then we get into the problem that is it infinite? Is it finite? Can we go beyond it? That's a problem. If it's empty space, there's no question. Empty space, infinite, absolute. There's no beginning to it. You can't ask, when did empty space begin? We can ask when creation began. As soon as creation is there, then we understand that it's dwelling within this absolute space. All of this applies to consciousness itself. This is how consciousness can be absolute and infinite, and yet contain with it every thought, every emotion, every feeling. So when we sit for meditation, if the mind can enter into that type of state, then we can really feel that now we're just like a star in the sky, set in that infinite absolute reality of pure consciousness, that Brahman. So then, this is my whole point, that it's not a mechanical, mental type of exercise, this meditation. It becomes something that's putting us in direct contact, touch, tangible touch with that supreme Brahman, which is our very nature, which is our real self. So this is one. Then this other idea that I like very much is that the opposite. Instead of going into outer space, we're diving deep into the ocean. Now, Sri Ramakrishna, one of his favorite songs was Doob Doob Doob, Rup Shagare Amar Mon. So it goes on. Anyhow, so the mind itself will dive deep within. So we talked about this last night. What does it mean to going beneath the surface? To go beneath the surface of the mind. So beneath the surface of the mind is the heart, is that heart center. And if we go a little bit beneath the surface of the mind, then we can still see things above the water. We go a little deeper, we'll forget this outer world. Yeah. So this is what we mean by withdrawing the mind from the senses. So automatically we're practicing this withdrawal of the mind. So we're not aware of anything. We go a little bit deeper, and then what happens? We come across the shakes, the alligators and sharks. That Thakur says. Then we find that we go a little deeper in meditation. Some psychological thing. Some scholars, these things may come up. So we have to know how to deal with those things. That's another subject in itself. But the doop, we go deeper and deeper and deeper, and we find the gems that lie at the bottom of the ocean. Yes. And what is it? Of course, this song, it's a vowel song and it's a Vaishnava song. So we're going to this Vrindavan of the heart. So this is a very devotional way of looking at it. The deeper that we dive, the more we enter into that realm of this Nitya Leela, this divine play. And we get all the gems that are there by leaving this first physical, external sense world behind, leaving behind even this intellectual world, and going through the heart center, through that power of love, going deeper and deeper, then we find the gems that lie at the bottom of the ocean. Now, for the Jnani will find portions of the ocean that you go so deep that no light will penetrate at all. And then we get to the pure, that formless, infinite, absolute form of the Divine Mother. Then we have that other song. What is it? Nivirantharima Totonga Ruparashi. Yeah. So in dense darkness, O Mother, thy formless beauty sparkles. Therefore the yogis meditate in a deep mountain cave. So there's another way of understanding that still we have to go beyond or beneath the surface level of the mind, leave this world behind, and feel that we're traveling in this divine space. Now it's this ocean of consciousness. And we're a little wave in that ocean. We're part of that ocean. We belong to it. We are that ocean. So this is just a way to, this isn't necessarily the meditation that we do. It's a mindset that we can get into so that when we practice our meditation, we don't think that we're simply doing a mechanical thing. That I've been told to repeat this. I've been told to try to picture this. The mind is working, imagination is working, and how it's going to bring me enlightenment, I have no idea. It gives it some context to meditation. So to me, this is one of the at least helpful things for me, that we really can feel that, like Thakur says, like the fish that's released into the ocean, that it's been bottled up, or the bird that's out of its cage, at least during that time of meditation. You remember that M was asking Sri Ramakrishna once, what does it feel like to be in that state where it was one with the Brahman and everything? And he says, yes, come with me one day. There's a Mati Shil, this is one devotee, he had a garden house. They had a little lake and they had a little kind of walking bridge, and there were fish, tame fish. No one will bother them and disturb them. And people would throw little bits of food and things to them. They would swim joyfully all around. Yeah, nothing to worry about, nothing to fear from or anything. So he said, this is how one feels in that state. So this ocean, this water, is that ocean is consciousness. That we are that. We're immersed in that ultimate higher type of reality. So we start to understand that this experience is something awakening and opening. We have this concept manonasha, or this stilling of the vrittis of the chitta. We have these two concepts that we want to make the mind perfectly still and quiet, and then we'll have some type of experience. Sri Ramakrishna is very, very clear about this, that everything takes place through the mind, but he says not this ordinary mind. Because many times people will say that, but God can't be realized through the mind, and he'll correct them. He say, no, God cannot be realized through this ordinary mind, but this mind that expands. This is why Maharaj mentioned yesterday that this it's not simply the mind is perfectly still and quiet. Mind takes the form of reality. That the mind expands, takes the form of reality, that little wave becomes the ocean. It doesn't just disappear, manonasha. It experiences its oneness with the ocean. And there are a lot of psychological things that come up. I don't want to go into that right now, but these are the difficulties that The lower mind, the old mind, doesn't want this new mind to experience all of this joy and everything. It wants to go back to the old things. It tries to pull it down. So the ability to simply control the mind through willpower, this will never work. This will never work. So we have to bring in some of these other ideas, this to make it something real for us, and to analyze a little bit that why do I suffer from this ego and this greed and pride and all of these different problems that I have. To do a little self-analysis and try to identify more with that higher self. So we bring in a little bit of Jnana Yoga with all of this, and then we have to deal with all of these difficulties that we have, these older passions and things, and we realize that meditation grows out of life, that it can't be divorced from all of our individual problems and old samskaras and things like that. So now we get to many of the practical hints on meditation. One is that if we want the mind to be able to be fixed on the chosen ideal, whatever we're trying to do in meditation, that we have to spend the whole day doing that. The mind has to be immersed in that. And how much time do we spend in meditation? We have to give time to this, because the mind is going to take a long time before it becomes quiet. I have a theory that most of the time the mind is disturbed and everything, that we get up before we've given it a chance to become quiet. I often find with me that it's at the very end when the mind will get a little bit quiet. We have to let it tire itself out. We have to let it run around a little bit. So we have to give it time to meditation and practice, keep trying abhyasa. But we know abhyasa is not enough. Then we get this idea of vairagya, that if we see all these desires and things in the mind that are disturbing the mind, then we have to practice a little bit of dispassion. And dispassion is not simply a mental thing. We all hear that, yeah, you can have whatever you want, but don't be attached. No, we have to practice moderation also. For a sadhu, it means really giving up. For others, it means moderation and non-attachment. And fill the mind with thoughts of the Ishta Devata, if we can, during the day. For me, it means as much as possible to read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna Kotamrita. That for those in our tradition, that the mind be filled with that so that we have a longing when we sit for meditation, we feel that we're again returning to Sri Ramakrishna. The Thakur made a beautiful statement to Keshav and the Brahmos. He said, I know that you don't like this Radha Krishna stuff. I know that you don't care for these types of things, that you don't like all these gods and goddesses, but try to accept this longing that Radha had to be with Sri Krishna. Try to accept that. So we have this paradigm, it's a very beautiful paradigm, that there's joy that comes when Radha gets to be with Sri Krishna. So this is called Milana Bhava, this feeling of union. When she's not with him, there's something called Viraha Bhava. That whole time the mind is thinking, when will I be with Krishna? When will I be with him? Now, according to the Vaishnava tradition, this Viraha Bhava is stronger than Milana Bhava. It's stronger. We find we get the thing we want, okay, that's all right. We don't get it, how wonderful it'll be if we get it. So they say that, what is the Bengali expression? Pawa che chawa bhava. Something, is that something like that? Yeah, it's better to want something than to get it. Something like that. How do you say it? Yeah, that's what I said. Pawa che? Yeah. So we can put this into practice. I always think of, say, M, how he's, the second he left Ramakrishna, whole mind was filled with this idea, when will I get to see him again? There are others also. This is Hari, Swami Turiyananda. He used to say that all we thought about is when will we be with him again. And then he also said one time, the joy that we get in meditation is nothing compared to the joy we had when we were in his presence. So this means that we can feel that we're entering into that realm of the term Nitya Lila. This isn't the philosophical Nitya Lila that Thakur talks about. He says, go from the Nitya to the Lila. This means that this divine play is going on eternally. It's another Vaishnava idea. They also have this Nitya Vrindavan and everything, that this Vrindavan of the heart. And then we can feel the same thing that if we enter into meditation, we can picture entering into Sri Ramakrishna's room and sitting with him, watching him, listening to him, all of that. It's not just imagination. This is eternally going on within the heart that plays. All we have to do is tune into it, and we're there with him again. And it's real. See, this is the whole point of all of this. This meditation, we should feel that it's real. That now we're not just entering into this ocean of consciousness, but we can enter into that lila sthana, that we go back into time, we transcend space and everything, and we're there. There's a verse from Gita which I find it very, very important. I like it very much. That if the mind is dwelling on God, everything is immersed in God, then we'll live there. Nivsishyasi mayeva. He says that you'll dwell within me. So where do we live? Do we live in the physical place that we live? We live where the mind is. If the mind is thinking of Thakur all day long, then we live with him in Dakshineshwar. So when we're not in meditation, we're thinking, when can I go back and see him? Then we sit in meditation, I'm there again. So that means that we develop this longing for meditation. Otherwise, it's a chore. It's a chore if we think, yes, I'm going to fight the mind. I'm going to just try to make the mind quiet, do what I want. Then it's very difficult. If we feel, I'll go back, to be in the presence of my chosen deity. I'll be in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna. What joy there'll be. Then the whole mind is thinking about it. We look forward to our meditation and prayer and worship, not just meditation. And then it becomes a joyful type of experience. So these are some of the things. Of course, there are many, many practical hints that we can talk about. One thing is having a fixed routine. Having a fixed routine. The Swami Sarvadevanandaji, you all know Swami Sarvadevanandaji. He's really the founder of this whole group here. He used to say very often, bind yourself to a routine. Now, it sounds like, again, what do I want to bind myself to something? I want freedom. I don't want bondage. But if we develop this devotion to a strict routine, it's very freeing for us and very, very helpful in spiritual life. And if we take it as something, we make an event out of meditation. We'll shower, we'll brush our teeth, we'll get ready, put on nice clothes, prepare as if Radha is going to meet Krishna, as if we're going to see Thakur in his room, to make an event out of it. And then we find everything is revolving around our spiritual life and our spiritual practice, and then it becomes we become fully immersed in spiritual practice. It becomes our life. There's no difference between the life that we lead and what we can call spiritual practice. It becomes one. So these are just a few different ideas, but I find the first thing especially helpful, that if we can start to see meditation as really this play. Swamiji says the one time we can feel that we can be who we really are, that it's not a mental thing, that we of course, people can get something out of that. Many people meditate, they just want the mind to be quiet and peaceful, health is better. But this is a chance for us to really go deep into something. Then we understand that this idea of just make the mind perfectly empty and still. That there's, first of all, it's very difficult to do. Second of all, it's a little restricted and limited to just one type of spiritual path. Meditation can really be a full-blown devotional practice also. And when the mind gets immersed in this, what happens? We forget the world. And the mind can be active. We allow the mind to be active. Lila dhyana, the mind to be a little active. But we've cut out this whole other aspect. We can even forget we're sitting in the room there. Yeah, I thought I was sitting in front of Thakur in his room. We get immersed in that idea. So these are just a few things that I thought might be a little bit helpful. So I'll stop now, and then we can have questions. Huh? Yes. Yes, Teresa. I think they're going to bring the microphone to you. So we have 10, 15 minutes.
Pranam Swamiji. The question is something that I find, that happens often and is difficult to deal with, is sleepiness.
Sleepiness.
Yes.
Especially
in the morning.
Yes. Okay, so this is a question, how do we deal with sleepiness? I've noticed that there are two tendencies. Generally, either we go towards the sleepiness or we go to this super restlessness of mind. And I think it's a personality type a little bit. So for one person, that'll be the main obstacle, fighting that. The other person, they won't have the problem. The mind will start racing. It'll be busy. First of all, you have to get enough sleep at night. Yeah, they're very practical things here. Get enough sleep at night. Second of all, cup of coffee or tea before meditation is not such a bad idea. I do that. Third of all, I find that in the morning, I like to be up and awake for at least an hour before I sit for meditation. I take a shower, I have a cup of tea, I read something inspiring, then I sit for meditation. So I'm more awake at that time. So you can try these things. Otherwise, better to open the eyes even. Better to open the eyes and look at the pictures in front of you and then closing in. Better to even get up or walk around, because I've seen some people that they develop this habit to such an extent that the second they sit down, they sleep. The second. So whatever you can do to fight that in the beginning, because it gets harder afterwards. And spice up your meditation a little bit. Read something first, try to have some image, some incident in the life of Swami Krishna, something like that, so that allow the mind to be a little bit active. Otherwise, we try to make the mind quiet, and it can go to sleep, or else other things come in. So I don't know if that's helpful or not. Yeah.
Maharaj,
This question, yeah. Yes.
this ignorant soul has a question, and I find
This ignorant soul will try to answer.
No, this ignorant soul. The conflict I see is as follows. Number one, as you said, thoughts are objects in the infinite space, right? And they're floating around. And between the thought, the gaps between the thoughts is where we can experience the infinite, right? That's number one. Having said that stuff, you also said that you can do Lila Dhyana, where you're doing the japa and everything and thinking about the stuff. So the question is, I'm forcing myself to think about all those things. So why will I find the gap between the thoughts that you just mentioned before?
Actually, the gap is the noticeable thing, but the object that's in space is also in empty space. You think about this. That if you ask, is this empty space in the room? It's empty space. If it weren't empty, you couldn't have a chair, you couldn't sit here. It's empty and full at the same time. So it's not just the gap in between that we can experience. As we're thinking, we can experience that this thought is upheld by pure consciousness also. And this other idea Thakur uses this expression, Chinmay Shyam, Chinmay Nam, Chinmay Dham. That this the object of meditation that we're meditating on, it's one level it's a thought and the projection of the mind. On the other level, it's also consciousness itself. Every object in consciousness is also kind of like consciousness. So the name is also consciousness. The abode is also consciousness. So yeah, they may not overlap so well, one more for the jnani, one more for the devotee, but the principle is more or less the same. Yeah, and to feel that on some level that this divine play is going on even now. And all we have to do is tune into it somehow. That it's real. These things are real. To dwelling within the heart. Yeah.
Pranam Maharaj. I think Deepak kind of stole my question. You've answered partially. I've been trying this for a while since I got initiated. What's happening, the experience that I'm going through is, well, it's almost like thematic meditation. So let's say I start with Naren, think about Swamiji, then my mind is going towards Shiva, from Shiva Tandava. So the mind is floating around, and it takes me to a point where I kind of deviated from my object of meditation. And this happening, it's one example I gave. And another day I might be thinking about Gopal, and then I start thinking about a kid, and then the lovely eyes and the feelings I had with the kid. So the mind is going elsewhere. Is this something people experience, or I'm just at the, like you said, on top of the waves? I've not been able to do the do that you were explaining.
Yeah. The most important thing, guideline for meditation is what we're told to do at the time of initiation. This is the beginning and the end of everything. We shouldn't give too much leeway to the mind. Unless we're specifically told, yes, you can do that. Try to think of all the gods and goddesses, and that may be a teaching that we get. Otherwise, we can go a little bit overboard. There has to be some consistency with all of this. And it shouldn't be every day the meditation is different, jumping around. This is why, and we have to have tremendous faith in the instructions at the time of meditation, tremendous faith in the power of the name that we're given. And really feel, see, when people take initiation, generally the first thing they say is, well, can I do this? Can I change this? Can I add this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, best give it some time. Yeah, what we're told to do at the time of meditation, we should have, this is called Shraddha, that we have to have tremendous faith in the power of the name and in the Guru who gives us instructions, that we try to follow it as perfectly as possible. And then there's some leeway, of course, because the mind will wander. There has to be some leeway that if the mind is going to wander, then let it at least, we can think about, again, this philosophical side. Who is meditating on whom? And we can think, but it has to be within the same context. So I'm meditating on Sri Ramakrishna. Can I feel, what would it be like to feel, to be Sri Ramakrishna meditating? We can do something, but it should be within a certain limit, I would say, within a certain realm, so that we're not going too much here and there. Anyhow, really specific questions like that, the Guru can give the best answer to those things. Yes.
You just mentioned a couple of minutes ago that you had a cup of tea in the morning, or a cup of coffee in the morning. There's for me a little bit contradiction, because for me, coffee or dark chocolate or tea is kind of rajasic food.
Yes.
You know, because it's stimulating the mind.
Yes.
It's known. It's very known, and science said food.
Yes.
It's stimulating the mind, and I think it goes against meditation, in my opinion. So a lot of people, you know, when I started meditating, when I started yoga when I was 40 years old, so more than 30 years ago, people said, look, avoid alcohol, avoid your garlic, avoid your coffee or tea, you know, I mean, basically, I mean, black coffee or green tea, and black tea. Yeah. So how do you reconcile?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's why I'm a little embarrassed when I admit it. It's a compromise. I have to decide which is more important, that being a purist with regard to these different stimulants and things, we're falling asleep at the time of meditation. I'm willing to, to compromise a little bit of that very high principle so that at least I don't fall asleep at the time of meditation.
Thank you very much.
Maharaj, if there's no question, I would like to make a comment. If you don't, it's my personal experience. When we are trying to do the meditation, we always bypass the fundamental few steps. There are 8 steps to
Yeah, don't make it a long talk.
No,
Yeah, because we're really run out of time.
What we have to do, we have to give yourself a credit that you have done the first step. Then the second step, so yes, I have established this much. That is a progress. So you go from asana, then pratyahar is a yes, pratyahar is in my control. Now he is going to dharana. In each step you do, you create yourself a confirmation. Yes, I have come up to this stage. Now, what will come? It has come to me as that as soon as I come here, I can have a dharana on top of it. At each stage, you give yourself that, yes, you have progress. If you give yourself the progress, the things will come out. And then you'll be able to do the rest. Thank you.
No, actually, and you have one more question. Okay.
Swamiji, namaste. Quick question. I heard about focusing on the breathing also.
Yes.
Will that help?
Yes. Swami Vivekananda especially, he says, and these are very, very helpful things. Before we sit for meditation, he says it's very helpful to do a little bit of deep breathing. It's not strict pranayama. You're not holding the breath. He said, breathe in, breathe out, because it makes the mind quiet. And it's also, if we focus on the breath, then there's one way of keeping the mind from wandering to other things. So he says it's very good to do several other things. He said, first, make a prayer for the welfare of all beings. So the meditation is not just a selfish kind of thing. And then watch the breath a little bit. Then he says, let the mind wander a little bit without doing too much to try to stop it, but observe it. You feel separate from the mind and let the mind become quiet on its own, then start your meditation. So, yeah, a little bit of this deep rhythmic breathing is helpful because the mind and the breath work together. When the mind is disturbed, the breathing becomes faster. We all know that if we're nervous or anxious or anything, that will breathe more quickly. And when we're very calm, the breath is also calm. So we reverse it. We want to make the mind calm, we make the breath slower. So it is a good way. Some people bring it in with all of their meditation, each mantra, they're breathing in, so like that. There's a different type of meditation. And of course, we know with vipassana and everything, whole meditation is observing the breath. So there are different types. It depends on our spiritual attitude and what tradition we follow. But yes, it can be helpful, of course, this idea of observing the breath and making the mind quiet to making the breath even.
Maharaj, if I can add just 30 seconds. Every alternate months we organize a vigil which starts from 8 a.m. And anybody who wants to do, they can come here, choose any slots, 30 minutes minimum. That's the time, that's recommended. Just come and sit, there are, seats you can sit in front of the altar. Just chant quietly, that is, Om Jai Shri Ram Krishna. If we can chant for about 30 minutes, you'll see at the end of it, the quietness you get. It removes the diversions and all that. And there are several devotees who come and they do concurrently, that's going on for the last 1 year. And we would suggest people to come and practice, if it is possible. It's published, and if you are the mailing list, it gets communicated. Thank you.
Very good. Shall I make the presentations? No? Okay. Now we have a very happy event that two of our young devotees are bound for college. Graduated from high school, going to college. So, to our beloved Raima Maitra and to our beloved Leela Vasu. Okay, I'll read the letter. It's the same for both of them. As you embark upon this new journey in your education and in your life, we at Vivekananda Vedanta Center send you our heartfelt blessings and best wishes. Swami Vivekananda believed that education is the manifestation of perfection already within us. As you pursue knowledge in your respective fields, we pray you carry forward not only intellectual prowess, but also the rich culture, ethics, and compassion that form the soul of our tradition. We hope you will find strength in the timeless messages of Vedanta and use them as your guide in moments of doubt or difficulty, that these values illuminate your choices and inspire you to become responsible, service-oriented, and successful human beings. May the blessings of Sri Ramakrishna, Shrima, and Swamiji be upon all of us. This is offered to all of you by Swami Sarvadevanandaji. And there's also a nice photo of Swamiji. Choose the highest ideal and live your life up to that. So I'd like to present these. Are you both here? So, Leela?
The parents are here.
We're parents, yeah.
Oh, next is
Okay.
Hey, আমি যাচ্ছি।
Hey. Hey. All right. But you have to sign that also. Yeah, your photo with all of us?
yes.
Oh, who was it then?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we went school together. She was here last week. She wanted to give with her own hand to you, but we didn't have that opportunity. So she asked me to give it to you with all her respect and love for Swamiji, Ma, and Thakurji. So she has drawn that whole entire thing. So from her Shraddha is for all of you basically in this form.
And just so everybody knows, speaking of talented artists, there's a picture of Swami Sarvadevanandaji in the main area. Or Shukla Di, yeah, our Washington DC, from our Washington DC Center, so that she did this herself. Yeah.